Hello everybody, this is Havoc. Welcome to the Beastmen Campaign gameplay walkthrough. This is, of course, focusing on the video that was released yesterday by Total War, showcasing the Beastmen Campaign. So I'm gonna walk through it. A lot of the information may be recycled from the video, but it'll have my flair to it, and I'll kind of give my opinions on what all was presented and things that I like and may not like about this walkthrough. First thing to note is this is focusing on the grand campaign rather than an eye for an eye. The eye for an eye is the mini campaign, but we won't really see anything from that. The play style, as it shows off, you're gonna have an aggressive play style. Their roster reflects that. They have very strong diplomatic debuffs, I guess you could say, or whatever. No one likes them very much. So you have, of course, your two legendary lords. One of your lords is going to start out in the Blightwater. Blightwater, is that right? Yeah, Blightwater. And then the other one will start out in Estalia. Now that's really cool, first off because it allows for a really, really unique co-op gameplay. Whereas all of these previous races, a mod was required to play co-op essentially, if you wanted to play as the same race. It seems like this faction was built specifically with that in mind, for co-op, which is a really unique thing that I think Creative Assembly did on purpose, and I think it's going to be a really, really good way to bring in people and to satisfy people with co-op play, because it does appear to seem that a lot of people are co-op playing Total War Warhammer more than any other Total War, at least being more vocal about wanting to play co-op than in any other Total War game beforehand. So of course they start in Estalia. And one thing to notice, he's gonna bring up a new horde here in a second, and this is one thing that I absolutely agree 100% with. He's gonna bring that horde up, and you're not gonna see that attrition factor that you saw in the Chaos campaign when you play as their faction, and what you saw in Attila when you played as the Huns. There is no attrition when two hordes are come together, because the Beastmen have that resilience trait factor which negates all of that. That is amazing. That will allow your hordes to work together without the risk of of attrition, you're losing soldiers every turn because they're too close together. I think that is just absolutely amazing, and they're actually going to use this. I actually did this in my White Huns campaign. I just took the attrition factor I would get a new lord, and then I would hover near the experienced dudes, and then we would just go ahead and level him up real quick. Now, of course, they also have the greenskin WOG factor, essentially, but this is called Bestial Rage. When a Bestial Rage gets high enough, a Bray Herd gets spawned. Now, that Bray Herd is different than the WOG from the greenskins because you can control it. You can have it kind of stay with you every turn, or you can actually send it off to go and take other settlements. Now, another factor, there's a lot happening, so I'm going to talk quickly. The Dark Moon, this is something that will cycle through every once in a while, so it will be repeated throughout your campaign. Essentially, you have 4 choices that you can do once this cycle fulfills itself, and this will give you a sort of debuff. You'll either take a hit somewhere like leadership, or you'll have to pay money, but you'll get a really good benefit once that happens, which apparently is immediately now. So that's a really cool thing to happen, because it will allow you to really judge wherever you're at in the campaign. You can kind of tweak what your choice is going to be that will give you the best benefit to do that. So moving on. We're actually there. He's going to explain that there's a Bretonnian Lord, etc., etc. I want to go ahead and get a jump start on the stances. Now, the Beastmen do have a pretty unique stance. Their original normal stance, which you'll see here in a minute, is, there we go, Beastmen Ambush. The Beastmen Ambush is their normal stance, so at all times they can pretty much have a chance of setting up an ambush. That trait can be buffed up in your horde, in your leader, to give a greater chance of ambushing. That ambush stance, I don't know if it will work in isolating a single unit. If there were multiple units, I'm not sure about that because they didn't really show it off. There's the encampment stance. The encampment stance, of course, allows your units to replenish, but it also makes you sort of invisible. to where units won't be able to they would stumble upon you essentially, which I'm assuming would almost launch an ambush stance. But that'll allow you to kind of hide away after a battle and recruit and just keep to yourself for a little while and give you some strategic advantage. They also have the Beast Paths, which is the same thing as the Underway for the dwarves, and if there's ever an army that gets caught there, and then you will then have not an Underway battle, but a Beast Path battle, in which case it takes force. New maps for that too, so I like that as well. Whoa, there's a lot going on here. So they're going to take out that Lord. He's going to level up his General. He's going to give him, I mean, he doesn't level him up, but he's able to take out that Lord. Again, you can reach out. He has that ambush stance that gives him a very good advantage over the hero unit himself, and gain quite a bit of loot as well. So next up, we're going to focus on the building browser once we get to it. Now the building browser is something that's really good, I think, for everyone who kind of was rampaging about a lack of units, essentially. Now, I do understand that there are a lot of really good units and key units in the tabletop version that are missing from this, and I get it. I understand the frustration of it, but I would say that the building browser really gave me some good hope. They don't have necessarily like a huge amount of units, but it does seem to be very well balanced. It just really focused. Of course, they're a warring faction. They're focused on war. They're focused on their units. So the building browser pretty much reflects that very well. Whenever they show it up in here in a minute, you're going to see that pretty much everything creates a unit. Every single building is going to create a unit. And as you see, they're not going to do very well in that siege there. But every single unit is unlocked by a building. That's pretty much everything. But you get what I mean. And so I think that's really cool. That obviously shows off the war thing very much. Now their economy is really focused obviously on war. They don't care so much about economy. So you're going to see, or the civil side. They're not so worried about the civil side of things, which is understandable. I mean, they don't care. They're just a bunch of beastmen. So here we're going to finally, I think, get into the building browser. And so he's going to go through the units, but as you see, every single building is focused on war, or on the left side in that middle column, but everything unlocks a unit. So there's quite a few units. I mean, you're talking 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and then 3 heroes. So 21 unit types, and then 3 heroes. I probably miscounted because I counted that super fast. But nonetheless, that is a lot of units, guys. So I know they're missing a few units, but you're not going to have 4 units to choose from. You're going to have almost a couple of dozen different units. So I think that's really good, and I think that'll hopefully calm down a lot of the people who are crying foul on a lack of a full unit roster. This is a pretty full unit roster, I will have to say. So you have those 2 columns focused on war. What's really nice is what really sucks is that all of those buildings do not generate any income whatsoever. Nothing. So while you have a base income level, you're going to have to figure out a way through raiding or through other means, which I'm about to explain, to make money and keep your upkeep well. Now, the Chaos did very well with that because you could loot and raid, and there were actually, I think, there were a few buildings in the Chaos faction that generated income. But what they're going to do over here with the Beastmen is they're going to give you a massive upkeep debuff. So essentially what's going to happen is over here in the tower, the ruination train, you have the chain. You have upkeep minus 25%, but then that bumps up to upkeep minus 50% at the 5th level of your settlement, or your horde. And that's massive. That means you could have some very high tiered units in your army, mid to late game, and that's not going to affect you nearly as bad as other things are. So I like that. And then you have buffs that will obviously affect recruitment and unit upkeep within your leaders themselves. Now on to the next piece of business. Once Chaos shows up, because if you're playing the campaign, Chaos is still a faction. So what's going to happen there is you're going to meet Chaos, And as the Beastmen, you spread chaos, so you're not from chaos, you're not made from that faction. But you also, that leaves open the choice on what you want to do with them. If you meet them, you could leave them alone. They may leave you alone depending on what you've done. They may not. You can go to war with them. You say, no, you're going to mess up my path that I want to go on to raise all these settlements. So you can go to war with them, or you can even ally with them and kind of take on the world together. The only requirements here, I think, for the Grand Campaign I saw at the beginning was essentially raising a certain amount of settlements and making sure that some certain factions are dead. I don't know, you're not, obviously, since you're from Chaos, you're not going to have that, choice to push Chaos back to the Chaos race, because you have the same goal in mind, essentially. Now, they obviously, with the Brayhurt, they were able to take that settlement, and it gives them 2 different specific things that they can do when you capture a settlement. Obviously, you can't settle, so your two methods are Raise and Defile and Loot and Raise. Raise and Defile gives a massive, huge nuclear bombshell of corruption in the area. Also increases horde growth, or you can Loot and Raise. If you need the money, it gives you a massive amount of money from looting and raising the settlement. Regardless, the settlement is raised, which is an important thing to note. So there's no longer looting and then raising. It is both. It is either looting and raising, or it is defiling and raising, which I think is really cool. And then last but not least, their tech tree. Their tech tree is focused obviously on buffing up their warpath. It buffs up their units. I think it may even give some replenishment values, some recruitment debuffs. But what interesting thing is, the more you research, the slower you research. So you'll start out slow at first, or quickly at first, a few turns, but the more you research, the more turns it takes. That on the right-hand corner, the right-hand column, that little 5 stack there, that basically resets that value. So it bumps up research rate by 20% at the cost of money, or of chaos, whatever they're calling the currency for the Beastmen. So that's an interesting thing. So you could, if you play it right, you could research super quick and get everything, maybe by mid-game. You have everything researched, everything you need to make a very strong army. And of course, everything can be buffed by your leaders. So guys, that'll pretty much wrap up my part. I hope you enjoyed this commentary. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Be on the lookout for more Beastmen content. I will be pushing the campaign, either the mini campaign or the main campaign. Leave in the comments section down below what you would like me to do, whether you'd like more of a grand campaign or if you'd want the mini one. I think I want to do the mini one regardless, but we'll just see. If you guys all want me to push main campaign, then I'll certainly do that. So guys, again, thank you for watching. It means a lot. Your support is always welcomed, and I just hope that I'm really pushing some good content out there for you guys. Anyways, this is Havoc, and I am out of here. Peace!